My girlfriend left when I refused to fund her cosmetic surgeries, and now she wants to reconcile. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and about a year ago, I met someone who seemed perfect. She was fun, supportive, and charismatic. It felt like she was the missing puzzle piece in my life. She appeared to appreciate my down-to-earth approach, and soon we were seriously dating, talking about our future together. Traveling, maybe even moving in. I was thrilled at the prospect of building something lasting. However, a few weeks ago, things started to change. She began making comments about wanting to enhance her appearance. At first, it seemed like idle talk, offhand remarks about wanting a different nose or a more dramatic figure. I assured her she looked great as she was and encouraged self-love. But she didn't let it go. One day, she showed me brochures for cosmetic surgeries, nose jobs, liposuction, breast augmentation, all at once. I was taken aback by how extensive her plans were. She explained with excitement how these changes would transform her life. I tried to be supportive, telling her I respected her desires if it truly mattered to her. Then she dropped the bombshell. She wanted me to fund the entire thing by taking out a sizable loan in my name. She said her credit was ruined from past financial mishaps, but she assured me this investment would benefit both of us in the long run. Her sense of entitlement shocked me. She framed it as a romantic investment in our future, saying, "If you truly love me, you'd do this." I calmly explained that going into debt for multiple surgeries wasn't something I could justify. I suggested she save up and start with one procedure, but she dismissed this idea outright, accusing me of stalling and not believing in her. Our relationship quickly turned sour. The loving dynamic we once had devolved into daily arguments about money. She began mocking me, calling me stingy and unromantic, insisting I was standing in the way of her happiness. Eventually, she issued an ultimatum. Take out the loan and schedule the surgeries, or we were done. Despite my feelings for her, I couldn't agree. Her demand was unreasonable and unsustainable. When I refused, she sneered, said, "Then we have nothing left to talk about," and blocked me on every platform. She packed her things and left my apartment in record time, leaving me stunned. I felt heartbroken but also relieved. I had stuck to my principles, even though it cost me our relationship. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop replaying our last conversation. Had I been too harsh? Was there another way to handle it? But every time I reflected, I realized her demand was a massive red flag. My friends were shocked when I shared what had happened. Some asked if there were any early signs of this behavior. In hindsight, I remembered her making small comments about how real love required grand gestures, or how men who truly cared for their partners would never be cheap. At the time, I brushed them off. I never imagined they would lead to this. A few weeks passed, and I started to move on. Then, out of the blue, she reached out. She apologized for how things ended and begged for a second chance, promising she had changed. But I couldn't shake the memory of how easily she discarded our relationship when I refused to go into debt for her dreams. I'm still processing everything, but one thing is clear. Love shouldn't come with ultimatums or a price tag. We hadn't spoken since the breakup, but mutual acquaintances occasionally showed me her social media posts. She would write vague references to an unsupportive ex who failed to invest in her happiness. Her pictures came with attention-grabbing captions about moving forward without negativity. The subtext was obvious. Part of me wished things hadn't gone so sour, but another part was ready to move on. A month slipped by. I started feeling stable again, enjoying small routines, focusing on work, and hitting the gym. The heartbreak dulled into a distant memory. Then, out of the blue, I received a text from an unknown number. "Hey, can we talk?" My heart pounded. It had to be her. The follow-up message confirmed it. She apologized for how things ended, admitted she'd acted impulsively, and said she needed to see me in person. A wave of emotions hit me: anger, curiosity, and embarrassingly, a flicker of hope. After some hesitation, I agreed to meet at a public cafe. A neutral space felt safest. On the day, I arrived early, scanning the room with a knot in my stomach. When she walked in, her bright smile looked forced. Seeing her after a month of silence was surreal. Before I could even ask how she'd been, she launched into a dramatic monologue about missing me. She claimed bad influences had fueled her demands and that her friends had twisted her perspective on our relationship. Now, she wanted a second chance. She apologized for blocking me, but the apology felt shallow, like she was skimming the surface. Then came the real reason for her return. She wanted me to reconsider financing her cosmetic surgeries. This time, she suggested a smaller loan or starting with just one procedure. That moment crystallized everything. Even after all the drama, she was still angling for me to pay for her goals, just on a smaller scale. I asked bluntly, "Do you miss me, or do you just miss the idea of me funding your plans?" Her wounded look was unconvincing. She insisted it was about love, but the conversation kept circling back to how a supportive partner invests in their partner's happiness. Frustration simmered. "I'm not taking out loans for any surgeries, big or small," I said firmly. "If you want them, that's your choice and responsibility." She pouted, then turned on the waterworks, whispering about how these procedures would boost her self-esteem and fix everything: her anxiety, her future job prospects. She wanted me to be the hero who made it happen. "A relationship isn't about buying someone's transformation," I said. "It's about mutual support. Financially bankrupting myself for your surgeries isn't support. It's exploitation." She accused me of lacking ambition, called me afraid of debt. I reminded her of my own plans: buying a modest home, maybe starting a small business. Taking on debt for her cosmetic procedures wasn't on the list. She switched tactics, leaning in with a softer tone. "I made a mistake leaving you. We could be great together. Imagine how confident I'd be once I fix a few imperfections. I'll make you proud." She even promised to pay me back someday, though her plan lacked specifics. It felt more like wishful thinking than a commitment. At that moment, it became clear. She only reached out because no one else was willing to fund her surgeries. Maybe her credit was too poor, or her family refused. Suddenly, I was the safe option. Anger flared. Did she think I was that gullible? "I appreciate the apology," I told her, "but we're done. I'm not interested in getting back together." Her face froze, startled. Perhaps she assumed her tears and emotional pleas would melt my resolve.